Amara discovered 3 truths within hours that shattered every plan she'd carefully constructed for her future. 1. She was carrying a child. 2. The father wasn't just another face from that elegant fundraiser she'd attended weeks ago. He was Min Seo-jun, Seoul's most feared crime lord, barely 30 and already legendary for his ruthlessness. And 3. He'd just materialized in her cramped studio without warning, secured the lock, and delivered words that turned her veins to ice. That child is mine. Which means you belong to me now. Amara remained motionless beside her kitchen counter, the positive test still clutched in her trembling fingers from 15 minutes prior. Her pulse hammered violently as she studied the man who should have remained a distant memory. One reckless evening she'd been desperately trying to erase from her mind. 8 weeks. That's how long it had been since the masked charity event. 8 weeks since she'd collided with a mysterious stranger and experienced lightning coursing through every nerve. 8 weeks since she'd awakened in an unfamiliar penthouse suite with only the phantom sensation of his hands lingering on her bare skin. But Seo-jun looked unforgettable standing before her now. Not with those penetrating obsidian eyes that followed her slightest movement. Not with the elaborate black designs snaking up from beneath his collar, intricate Korean script intertwined with phoenix feathers she couldn't interpret. Not with the commanding way he occupied her space, as though he had every right to it. As though he owned her completely. "How did you?" she started, her voice fracturing. "How did you find me?" He gestured toward the entrance, with a slight tilt of his head. "Your building manager proved quite accommodating. You paid him off." "I explained to him," Seo-jun said quietly, moving forward until his expensive cologne enveloped her. Sandalwood and something darker, more dangerous. "You're mine now. I always track what belongs to me." Her spine connected with the counter's edge, trapped. "I'm not your possession," she breathed, despising how her body contradicted her words. How her skin recalled his touch perfectly, how warmth pooled deep in her core despite her terror, how her fingers ached to reach for him even while her rational mind screamed warnings. Seo-jun leaned closer, his palms landing on the counter on either side of her waist, creating a cage. His voice descended into a gravelly whisper that sent electric shivers racing down her vertebrae. 8 weeks ago, you weren't mine, but now his gaze traveled to her still unchanged abdomen, and something fierce and ancient blazed in his expression. Now you carry my air, and I protect everything that's mine, even when you despise me for it. Amara's fists clenched tight, her grandmother's wisdom echoing through her thoughts. Never permit any man to believe you're his property. Listen, I can't just pack my things. He interrupted her protest, straightening to full height. All business suddenly frigid and authoritative. You're relocating to my residence tonight. This isn't negotiable. I refuse to go anywhere with you. He extracted something from inside his jacket, a manila envelope, and placed it on her counter next to the leftover curry she'd prepared yesterday. Photographs scattered across the surface. Images capturing her route to the restaurant where she worked, purchasing her morning coffee at the Itaewon Cafe she frequented, sharing laughter with kitchen staff outside the hotel's service entrance. And circled in crimson in every single photograph was someone lurking in the background. Different individuals, different locations, identical menacing presence. Her stomach plummeted. Cold perspiration erupted across her palms. "You've acquired enemies," Seo-jun stated evenly. "My enemies. They've learned about the pregnancy. They know your identity. And they'll exploit you as leverage against me." Her ribcage constricted, compressing her lungs painfully. Why would they even bother? Because in my world, an heir represents authority, and authority means people murder for it. His jaw tensed, a muscle pulsing beneath the ink decorating his throat. "You have 2 options, Amara. Accompany me and survive, or remain here and hope they demonstrate mercy before executing you." She pressed her palm protectively against her stomach, pure instinct. The apartment abruptly felt suffocating, vulnerable, the windows too exposed. Every shadow transformed into a potential threat. "Why would you care?" Her voice fractured. "You don't even know me. One night doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely everything." The raw intensity in his stare stole her oxygen. That child growing inside you is mine. You're mine. And I don't care whether you hate me, fear me, or curse my existence daily for the remainder of your life. He advanced, and she could sense the heat radiating from his body. Could observe the slight tremor in his hands, the single crack in his iron control. You're mine now. Pack your belongings. She wanted to resist, wanted to order him straight to hell. But her hands were shaking violently and her mind kept replaying those photographs. Strangers observing her, circling like predators stalking prey. Yet here's what Amara hadn't discovered yet. The man occupying her kitchen wasn't simply offering protection. He was constructing a prison. And the bars, they were forged from something infinitely more dangerous than metal. Wondering whether Amara will survive this treacherous world or if Seojun's obsession will consume them both. Subscribe now because the true chaos is only beginning. I have employment, she protested weakly. A work visa. I can't just all handled. He produced his phone, typed rapidly. Your employer received compensation. Your visa has been extended indefinitely under my sponsorship. Your mother in Atlanta will find a substantial deposit in her account by morning, sufficient to cover your brother's entire medical school tuition. Amara's chest compressed, fury igniting hot and fierce. You investigated my family? I investigated everything. His expression softened marginally, barely perceptible but enough to catch her breath. I know you transfer money home monthly. I know your mother manages 2 nursing shifts at the hospital. I know your brother Marcus dreams of becoming a surgeon but lacks the funds. He paused deliberately. Allow me to provide for you. All of you. It should have registered as manipulation, like a golden cage being methodically assembled around her existence. But God forgive her, it felt like salvation. This is completely insane, she whispered. Absolutely, he didn't attempt denial, but your time for debate just expired. As if choreographed, his phone vibrated. He checked the display and his features transformed to something lethal. The room's temperature seemed to drop dramatically. They're moving faster than my intelligence suggested. He grasped her wrist, gentle yet firm. We're departing immediately. Wait. I need to pack properly. Now, Amara. The urgency saturating his tone cut through her resistance. She grabbed her bag, her passport, the small carved lion her father had gifted her before cancer claimed him. His palm remained steady against the small of her back as he guided her toward the exit, and she hated how secure that single touch made her feel. In the corridor, 2 men wearing dark suits waited, expressions blank, hands clasped formally. Seojun addressed them in rapid Korean, his tone sharp and commanding. They bowed slightly and positioned themselves flanking her as they descended. Who are these men? She questioned as they took the stairs, her kitchen clogs echoing against concrete. My security. And who are you really? He remained silent until they reached the underground garage. A black Mercedes idled, engine purring. He opened the passenger door for her, and when she hesitated, his fingers brushed her cheekbone with such gentleness it made her heart stutter. I'm the man who will incinerate this entire city before permitting anyone to harm you, he said quietly, his thumb tracing her jawline. Remember that truth. She slid onto the leather seat, cool against her overheated skin. And as Seojun closed the door behind her, Amara glimpsed her reflection in the tinted window. She looked absolutely terrified. She looked completely trapped. But worst of all, she looked like she already belonged to him. And perhaps, just perhaps, she'd been his property since that precise moment 8 weeks ago at the masked gala when a stranger caught her before she fell and murmured against her ear, "Stay with me tonight." She should have refused then, but she hadn't. And now escape was impossible. Not from him, not from the life multiplying inside her, and definitely not from the war she'd just been dragged into without warning. The penthouse defied Amara's expectations completely. She'd envisioned cold marble surfaces, sterile white expanses, the kind of soulless luxury that broadcasted wealth but communicated nothing. Instead, warm amber light cascaded across rich hardwood flooring. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline, Namsan Tower puncturing the darkness like a sentinel. Traditional Korean artwork hung beside contemporary abstract pieces. And in one corner, she spotted something that arrested her breathing. A bookshelf filled with Black authors. Morrison, Baldwin, Butler, Hurston. He'd been preparing for this. "Your bedroom is down that hallway," Seo-jun announced, removing his jacket. The motion revealed additional ink, phoenixes spiraling down his forearms, their feathers rendered in meticulous detail. "Mine is directly across. You intend separate rooms?" The question escaped before she could prevent it. His eyes darkened, something hungry flickering in their depths. "Did you prefer sharing mine?" Heat flooded her face. "No, I just assumed you assumed I'd force you into my bed." He stepped closer, and she detected the edge in his voice. "I'm many things, Amara, but I'm not that kind of man." She wrapped her arms protectively around herself, suddenly conscious of how thin her work clothes were, how his gaze tracked the movement, how the atmosphere between them felt charged, electric, identical to 8 weeks ago when his hands had explored every inch of her skin. "Why the books?" she asked, deflecting. "Because you're remaining here, simple and absolute, and you'll require something familiar while adjusting." "Adjusting to being your captive, you mean?" "My wife." The word struck her like a physical impact, her chest constricting. "What did you say?" "We're marrying." He stated it like discussing ordinary weather. "Publicly, legally." "It's the only method to protect you and the child properly." "Absolutely not." The words emerged strangled. "You can't simply." Her hands trembled as she pressed them against her temples. "I don't know you. I don't know anything except you're apparently a criminal who stalked me for 8 weeks and rescued your life tonight." His voice turned glacial. "Those men circling you weren't planning to wait much longer." "That doesn't mean I'm marrying you." Her voice rose, panic finally breaking free. "Marriage? Are you completely insane?" "I have a life, plans. I was scheduled to return home in 8 weeks. Plans change. Not like this, they don't." She retreated, requiring space, requiring oxygen. "This is kidnapping. This is protection." He didn't pursue her. But his presence dominated the room regardless. "You believe you possess a choice, but you don't. Not anymore. The moment you conceived my child, you became a target." "So what? You just own me now?" "Precisely. No hesitation, no apology whatsoever." "That's exactly what I'm declaring." Her nails bit into her palms. She wanted to scream, to hurl something, to run. But where could she possibly run? She was trapped, and he understood that perfectly. A door opened behind them, shattering the suffocating tension. A woman entered, perhaps mid-50s, kind eyes, traditional hanbok in deep navy. She bowed slightly to Seo-jun, then smiled warmly at Amara. "This is Mrs. Choi," Seo-jun said, his tone softening noticeably. "She'll assist you with anything you require." "She speaks limited English, but 안녕하세요," Amara said quietly, bowing despite everything. Mrs. Choi's face illuminated. She responded in rapid Korean, gesturing animatedly, and Amara caught the warmth saturating her voice, even without understanding the words. "She says you're too thin," Seo-jun translated, something almost resembling amusement crossing his features. "And that expecting mothers require proper nourishment. She's preparing mayakuk, seaweed soup. It's traditional for pregnant women." Amara's throat tightened painfully. This stranger demonstrated more maternal care than she'd experienced in years. "Tell her thank you." Mrs. Choi squeezed her hand gently, then disappeared toward the kitchen. The moment she departed, the tension snapped back into place violently. "You can't imprison me forever," Amara stated. "Watch me carefully." He moved to the bar, poured whiskey. Didn't offer her any because of the pregnancy, she realized. "You'll marry me. You'll smile for the cameras. You'll convince my world that you're mine by choice. And if I refuse? You won't." He took a slow sip, eyes never departing hers. "Because if they suspect for 1 second that you're here against your will, they'll position themselves as your saviors, rescue you dramatically," and then his voice descended to something lethal. "Then they'll execute you and extract my child from your body before you can even scream." Ice flooded her veins instantly. "You're lying to manipulate me. I desperately wish I was." He turned to face her completely. And for the first time, she witnessed something beyond control in his eyes. Genuine fear. My world doesn't possess mercy, Amara. It has predators and prey exclusively. And currently, you're prey carrying something they desperately want. What Amara didn't realize yet was that Seo-jun wasn't exaggerating remotely. In 72 hours, someone would attempt to murder her. Someone inside his own organization, someone he trusted implicitly. I need air, she whispered. The balcony. Alone, please. Something flickered across his face, but he nodded. 5 minutes maximum. She escaped to the balcony, Seoul's night air cool against her overheated skin. The city sprawled below, millions of lights, millions of people living normal lives. She pressed her palm to her stomach. I'm sorry, she whispered to the life inside her. I'm so sorry for this. Don't apologize for surviving. She spun around. Seo-jun stood in the doorway, backlit by warm light. I wasn't supposed to want you, he said quietly, moving beside her. That night was supposed to be meaningless, a distraction from an assassination attempt. His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white. But then you laughed, and I forgot how to breathe properly. Her heart stuttered. Don't do this. Don't what? Don't pretend this is about feelings. This is about control, about possessing me. Yes, he didn't deny it, but that doesn't make it less real, less consuming. He turned to her, and the intensity in his gaze stole her breath. I'm obsessed with you completely. I think about you every waking moment. I dream about you. His jaw clenched. I know it's sick. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop. You're mine, Amara. You've been mine since the moment you crashed into me. She should have been terrified. Instead, heat pooled low in her belly. Traitorous, unwanted heat. This isn't love, she whispered. No, he agreed, his hand rising to cup her face. It's something far more dangerous than love. His thumb brushed her lower lip, and she felt that touch everywhere. Her racing heart, her trembling knees, the ache between her thighs that remembered him too vividly. I should hate you, she breathed. You absolutely should. His forehead pressed against hers, close enough to feel his breath, not close enough to kiss. But you don't. Not completely. Her hands fisted in his shirt, caught between pulling him closer and shoving him away violently. You're impossible. I know precisely. His phone buzzed once. Twice. He ignored it, his focus entirely on her, on the way her pulse jumped in her throat, the way her breathing quickened. The phone buzzed again, insistent, demanding. He cursed softly in Korean, pulling back just enough to check the screen. His expression transformed from heated to murderous in seconds. What? She asked, fear creeping up her spine. Get inside immediately. His hand found the small of her back, already guiding her toward the door. What's happening? Someone's approaching. He pulled out another phone, this one she hadn't seen before, and barked orders in rapid Korean. Someone I didn't authorize. They'd barely crossed into the living room when the private elevator chimed. Seo-jun moved in front of her instantly, his body a wall between her and whatever was emerging. The doors opened and the most stunning woman Amara had ever seen stepped out. Designer dress, flawless makeup, and eyes that promised absolute murder. She looked at Seo-jun first, her smile razor-sharp. Then her gaze slid to Amara and the temperature in the room dropped dramatically. Seo-juna, she purred in Korean-accented English. Aren't you going to introduce me to your guest? Leave now, Ji-won. His voice was ice, pure lethal ice. Ji-won laughed, a sound like shattering glass. Oh, I don't think so, Appa. Not until I meet the woman who thinks she can take what's mine. She moved toward Amara, and Seo-jun's hand shot out, catching her wrist violently. Touch her and I'll shatter every bone in your body. Ji-won's smile widened dangerously. Still so protective. It's almost sweet, really. She turned her attention back to Amara, looking her up and down with pure contempt. So, you're the nobody carrying his bastard child. Amara's hands clenched into fists. Excuse me? Did he tell you about me? Ji-won tilted her head, expression mocking. Did he mention we were engaged? That I was supposed to be his wife? That I was supposed to give him heirs? Her voice turned venomous. Or did he just seduce you and forget to mention he already had someone waiting? The words hit like physical blows to her chest. We were never engaged, Seo-jun said, his voice deadly calm. Your father proposed an alliance. I refused immediately. You refused after you got what you wanted from me, after I gave myself to you. I never wanted anything from you except your family's silence. Ji-won's perfect mask cracked, rage flooding her features. She looked at Amara again, and this time there was nothing but hatred in her eyes. Enjoy him while you can, she said softly, because women who get close to Min Seo-jun don't tend to survive very long. And with that, she turned and walked back to the elevator, her heels clicking against marble. The doors closed. Silence suffocated the room. Amara's legs gave out completely. She sank onto the nearest chair, her whole body shaking. She's the one, she whispered. Isn't she? The one who's been trying to kill you? Seo-jun's jaw tightened. Yes, she is. And now she knows about me. About the baby? Yes. Amara looked up at him, fear and fury warring in her chest. How long do I have before she tries to kill me too? His silence was answer enough. Morning arrived with the smell of something Amara hadn't expected. Jollof rice. She'd barely slept, maybe 2 hours total, her mind spinning with Ji-won's threats and the weight of everything crushing down on her. But that smell pulled her from the window seat where she'd finally dozed off, wrapping around her like a memory of home. She found Mrs. Choi in the kitchen, transferring rice from containers into a pot, adding her own touches, extra spices, adjusting the heat carefully. The older woman looked up and smiled, gesturing enthusiastically at the stove. For you, she said in careful English, then launched into rapid Korean that Amara couldn't follow but understood anyway. You need proper food. The baby needs proper food. Amara's throat tightened painfully. You're making jollof rice. Mrs. Choi beamed and nodded, ladling a generous portion onto a plate. She'd even added fried plantains on the side, clearly prepared fresh this morning. How did you? Her voice cracked. I told her. She turned. Seo-jun stood in the doorway, dressed in a crisp black suit, but looking as exhausted as she felt. His eyes were bloodshot, jaw tight with tension he was trying to hide. I had it delivered last night from a West African restaurant in Itaewon, he said. Mrs. Choi wanted to add her own touch this morning, make it fresh for you specifically. Something cracked in Amara's chest. This woman, this stranger, had woken up early to reheat and perfect her home food because a crime lord asked her to because despite everything, he was trying. Thank you, she whispered to Mrs. Choi, pressing her hand to her heart. Gamawoyo. Mrs. Choi's eyes misted. She squeezed Amara's hand, said something soft in Korean, then excused herself, giving them privacy. Silence settled over the kitchen heavily. You didn't sleep, Seo-jun observed. Neither did you. Amara sat at the counter, the plate of food in front of her. Her stomach growled, betraying her despite everything. What were you doing all night? Securing the building completely, changing access codes, running background checks on everyone who's had access to this penthouse in the last 6 months. He took a long sip of coffee, and she noticed the slight tremor in his hand. Making absolutely certain Ji-won can't surprise us again. Can she surprise us? Not anymore. His voice carried absolute certainty. I've tripled security. No one gets within 50 feet of you without me knowing immediately. Amara took a bite of rice and the taste exploded on her tongue. Home, safety, her grandmother's kitchen on Sundays. Tears pricked her eyes before she could stop them. It's good? Seo-jun asked, watching her carefully. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. She wiped her eyes quickly. It tastes like home. Something softened in his expression. That was precisely the point. They sat in comfortable silence while she ate, and Amara realized this was the first meal she'd had in weeks that didn't make her nauseous. The first time since discovering the pregnancy that food actually tasted like something other than cardboard. I have something for you, Seo-jun said when she'd finished. He pulled a small box from his pocket, set it on the counter between them. Her heart stuttered. If that's a ring, it's not. He slid the box toward her. Open it. Inside was a phone, sleek, expensive, already powered on. Your mother's number is programmed in, he said. Your brother's too. You can call them whenever you want. There are no restrictions whatsoever. Amara stared at the phone, then at him. You're letting me call home. You're not a prisoner, Amara. He said it gently, like he was trying to convince himself as much as her. You're under protection. There's a difference between those things. Is there really? But her fingers were already closing around the phone, clutching it like a lifeline. Yes, there is. He stood, moving to the window with his coffee. Morning light cut across his profile, highlighting the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. A prisoner would be locked in a room, monitored constantly, controlled. You have freedom here, within reason. Within reason meaning I can't leave this building. Would you? He turned to look at her, and the vulnerability in that question stole her breath. If I opened that elevator right now and told you to go, would you actually leave? Amara opened her mouth to say yes, of course yes. But the word stuck in her throat because Ji-won's face flashed through her mind, those cold eyes, that promise of violence, and she remembered the photographs, strangers circling her, waiting. I don't know, she admitted. At least you're honest with me. He set his cup down with deliberate care. I have meetings today, business that can't wait. But Mrs. Choi will be here. And there are guards stationed throughout the building. I don't want guards hovering over me constantly. They won't hover, but they'll be close at all times. No room for negotiation. Until I know exactly who leaked your location to Ji-won, I can't take chances with your safety. What neither of them knew yet was that the leak had come from inside, from someone Seo-jun trusted completely, and that person was watching them right now, reporting every word back to the woman who wanted Amara dead. How long? Amara asked. How long do I have to live like this, trapped? I don't know honestly. The honesty hurt worse than a lie would have. But I'm working on it constantly. Ji-won's father, he's the key. If I can convince him she's become a liability to their organization. You mean if you can prove she killed that woman? Sue me. His hands clenched into fists. Yes, her. And if you can't prove it? Then we do this the hard way. Which is, you don't want to know those details. She probably didn't. But she was starting to realize that ignorance wouldn't protect her, not in his world. I want to learn Korean, she said abruptly. Properly, not just basic phrases. Surprise flickered across his face. Why would you want that? Because if I'm stuck here indefinitely, I want to understand what people are saying around me. She hesitated. I want to understand you when you speak it. Something vulnerable crossed his expression. I'll arrange a tutor immediately. She can start tomorrow morning. And I want to cook. The words came faster now, fueled by desperate need for control. I'm a chef. I need to do something with my hands or I'll go insane here. The kitchen is entirely yours. He gestured around them. Mrs. Choi will be thrilled. She's been trying to teach me for years. You can't cook? I can order takeout very efficiently. A ghost of a smile. Does that count? Despite everything, the danger, the fear, the impossible situation, Amara laughed. Real and surprised and so unexpected it made them both freeze. There it is, he murmured. That laugh I remembered. The air shifted, charged. He crossed the kitchen slowly, giving her time to move away. She couldn't. Her body remembered him too well, remembered the way his hands felt, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. I need to tell you something, he said, stopping just close enough that she could feel his body heat. About that night, the gala. Her pulse jumped. What about it? I didn't plan it, any of it. His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle it made her ache. There had been an attempt on my life an hour before, poison in my drink. I was shaken, needed air, and then you crashed into me literally. Amara remembered the serving tray tipping, her desperate grab for balance, his arms catching her before she fell. You looked at me like I'd saved you, he continued, voice rough. Not like I was dangerous, just grateful, human. And I thought maybe for one night I could be just a man. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Not a boss, not a target, just someone who wanted to know your name. You never asked my name that night, she whispered. I know, I didn't. Because if I knew it, you'd become real. And if you were real, his forehead pressed against hers. I'd never be able to let you go, ever. Her hands found his chest, intending to push him away, but her fingers curled into his shirt instead, holding on. This is insane, completely insane, she breathed. I know it is. We're strangers. We made a life together. His hand slid to her stomach, protective, possessive, impossibly gentle. That makes us more than strangers now. She should argue, should pull away immediately. But his hand on her stomach felt like a promise, like an anchor. One condition, she said. Anything you want. If we're doing this marriage, I need honesty. No more secrets. No more decisions made without consulting me first. He kissed her, soft and achingly tender, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth. Like she was precious, his. Amara's resistance crumbled completely. Her hand slid into his hair, and he groaned against her mouth, a sound of relief and hunger. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. Once, twice, 3 times insistently. He pulled back, breathing hard, and checked the screen. His expression transformed from heated to lethal in seconds. What? Amara asked, fear creeping up her spine like ice. He made a call, spoke rapid Korean, his voice clipped, furious. When he hung up, his jaw was tight enough to shatter. Your apartment, he said carefully. There was a fire early this morning, before dawn. The world tilted violently. What do you mean? Someone said it deliberately, intentionally. His hands gripped the counter on either side of her. My men were watching it. That's how we know. They called it in, but he stopped. Everything's gone, Amara. They made absolutely sure of it. Why? Her voice came out strangled. Why would anyone do that? Because they want you to know there's nowhere to run, no life to go back to. His eyes blazed with fury. They're telling you that you belong here now with me. Her hands shook violently. Everything she owned, her clothes, her photos, the carved lion from her father, all gone, turned to ash by someone who wanted to trap her. Who did this? She whispered. I don't know yet. The promise in his voice was dark, absolute. But I will find out. And when I do, his hand cupped her face. No one threatens what's mine and lives to talk about it. And despite the fear coursing through her veins, despite the absolute insanity of everything, Amara realized something terrifying. She believed him completely. Worse, part of her wanted him to follow through. 3 weeks had changed everything drastically. Amara stood in the penthouse kitchen, hands deep in dough for chin chin, while Mrs. Choi watched with fascination. The older woman had been teaching her Korean cooking, kimchi jjigae, japchae, tteokbokki, and Amara had been returning the favor with Nigerian dishes. Like this, Amara demonstrated, cutting the dough into small squares. Then we fry them until golden brown. Mrs. Choi nodded enthusiastically, already heating oil in the pan. 3 weeks since the apartment fire. 3 weeks of Korean lessons with Minji. 3 weeks of slowly, terrifyingly starting to feel like this penthouse was home. 3 weeks of Seo-jun looking at her like she was the only thing in the world worth protecting. He'd been different lately, softer around the edges. He'd started joining her for breakfast, teaching her Korean phrases while she taught him Yoruba words. He'd had her books shipped from Atlanta. He'd even laughed last week when she'd accidentally cursed at him in Yoruba after he'd stolen the last piece of Puff Puff. And the touches, God, the touches. Casual brushes in the hallway, his hand at the small of her back, fingers lingering when he passed her coffee. Nothing overt, nothing demanding, just constant, present, a steady reminder that he was there, always there. You happy? Mrs. Choi asked, pointing at Amara's face. Amara realized she was smiling. Maybe? I think maybe. Mrs. Choi grinned and went back to frying. The wedding was in 2 weeks. They'd pushed it back, Seo-jun's doing. You should want to marry me, he'd said one night. Not just agree because you're scared of dying. Her phone buzzed. A text from Seo-jun. Dinner tonight, just us two. I'm cooking. She laughed out loud. You can't cook. I've been practicing secretly. Meet me on the roof at 7. Her heart did something stupid and fluttery. What Amara didn't know was that tonight would be the last peaceful moment she'd have, because the person she'd come to trust was about to betray her. And before the night ended, she'd watch Seo-jun kill for her. The rooftop took her breath away completely. Fairy lights were strung across the space, casting everything in warm golden light. A table was set for 2, and Seo-jun stood by a portable grill, looking devastating in jeans and a black t-shirt that showed every line of ink on his arms. You came, he said, relief saturating his voice. You're actually cooking. Should I be worried? She moved closer. Probably reasonably. He flipped something expertly. Bulgogi. But I had help. Mrs. Choi prepared everything. I'm just not burning it. The food was actually good, better than good, delicious. You've been holding out on me, she said. This is delicious. Pride flickered across his face. I wanted to give you something normal, ordinary. No guards, no threats, just this moment. Her chest tightened. This is nice, really nice. Is it enough? He set down his chopsticks. To make you want to stay, not because you have to, because you want to? I don't know yet, she said honestly. But I'm getting there gradually. Hope crossed his features. That's all I can ask for. My brother called today, Amara said. Marcus. He got accepted to medical school, Johns Hopkins. The one I'm sponsoring completely. Yes, that one. She looked at him directly. Thank you for that. Your family is important to you. That makes them important to me automatically. His fingers found hers across the table. I take care of what's mine. Her throat tightened. Why do you care so much? Because you're mine. His thumb traced circles on her palm. I don't know how to do this, be normal, soft, but I'm trying for you. I know, she whispered. I see it clearly. And is it working? Yes, she admitted. It's working. The smile that spread across his face was pure joy. He stood, pulling her up with him, and then his hands were on her waist and her arms were around his neck, and they were swaying to music that didn't exist. There's no music, she said against his chest. Don't need it. His breath was warm against her temple. Just need you here. They danced in the fairy lights, souls sprawling beneath them, the world reduced to just this. His heartbeat against hers, the baby between them that had brought them together. Amara, he murmured. If something happens, if things go wrong, I need you to promise me you'll run immediately. Her stomach dropped. What things? What's wrong? Nothing specific. Just he pulled back to look at her. Promise me you'll run if I tell you to. Seo-jun, what are you talking about? His phone buzzed. Once, twice, insistent, demanding. He cursed, checking the screen. His expression went from tender to lethal in seconds. What's happening? Amara asked, dread pooling in her stomach like ice. Security alert. He was already moving, pulling her toward the door. We need to get you downstairs now. They'd barely made it to the elevator when the lights went out completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red that turned everything into shadows and blood. I've got you. He pulled out his gun and positioned himself in front of her protectively. Someone cut the power to the building. The elevator opened. Seo-jun's men were there, guns drawn, faces grim. Report, Seo-jun barked in Korean. Whatever they said made his face go white. What? Amara demanded. Hyunwoo, he said quietly. He's gone, disappeared. Took the security codes with him. The name hit her like a physical blow. Hyunwoo, the kind man who'd helped her practice Korean, who'd smiled warmly. He's working for G1, has been for months apparently. His phone buzzed again. He looked at it and cursed violently. He's let her people into the building. An explosion rocked the building violently. The force threw Amara against Seo-jun's chest. His arms wrapped around her, protecting her as the world shook. When the dust settled, alarms were screaming. Basement, Seo-jun ordered his men. Get her to the tunnel immediately. No, Amara grabbed his shirt. I'm not leaving you here. You promised I'd protect you. I didn't promise anything else. Gunfire erupted below them, echoing up the stairwell. Seo-jun kissed her hard, desperate, tasting like goodbye. Run, he whispered against her lips. Then he was pushing her toward the stairwell, toward his men, toward safety. Amara ran down the stairs, her sandals slapping against concrete, her breath coming in panicked gasps. 2 guards flanked her, moving fast, weapons raised. Behind her, more gunfire, shouting, the sounds of violence and chaos. They hit the basement level. The door burst open. The guards moved through first, checking corners carefully. Clear, one said quietly. Amara stepped into the corridor and stopped dead. Hyunwoo stood 20 feet away, gun raised, pointed directly at her stomach, at the baby growing inside. Her hands moved instinctively, covering her belly, protecting what she could. "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said, and he almost sounded like he meant it. His face was bruised, bleeding from somewhere. But Ji-won pays better than loyalty ever did. The guards raised their weapons immediately, but Hyunwoo shook his head. "You shoot, I shoot first. We all know whose bullet is faster." His eyes never left Amara. "Tell them to lower their guns now." "Don't," Amara whispered. Her whole body was shaking violently. "Don't listen to him." "Lower them," Hyunwoo said again. "Or I put a bullet in that baby right now, immediately." The guards hesitated. "Please," Amara's voice broke. "Please, there's a baby. I'm pregnant. You don't have to do this." "I know exactly." His finger moved to the trigger. "That's exactly why Ji-won wants you dead. No air, no leverage, no reason for Seo-jun to refuse her anymore." Time slowed dramatically. Amara saw his finger tighten. Saw the barrel of the gun. Saw her death in his eyes. A gunshot exploded. But the pain didn't come. Hyunwoo's eyes widened. Blood bloomed across his chest, a perfect circle right over his heart. He crumpled forward, gun clattering to the concrete. Amara couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Couldn't process. Seo-jun stepped over Hyunwoo's body, gun still raised, face spattered with blood. His expression was murder incarnate, cold, lethal, absolutely merciless. He'd killed him without hesitation, without mercy, for her. "Touch her," Seo-jun said softly to the corpse, "and this is what happens to anyone." Then his eyes found Amara, and something cracked in that cold mask. Fear, relief, raw desperate emotion. "Are you hurt?" His hands were on her face, her arms, checking for injuries frantically. "Did he touch you? Did he hurt you? You killed him." Her voice sounded distant, strange. "You just killed him." "Yes, I did. No apology. No regret whatsoever. And I'd do it again without hesitation. I'd kill anyone who threatens you, anyone." She should have been horrified. Should have recoiled from the blood on his hands, the violence in his eyes. Instead, her legs gave out completely. He caught her, pulling her against his chest, his heart thundering beneath her ear. "I've got you," he whispered into her hair. "I've got you safe. You're safe now. He was going to kill our baby." The words came out broken. "He was going to shoot." "I know." His arms tightened around her. "But he's dead now. He can't hurt you. No one can hurt you." She looked up at him, at the man who'd just killed for her, who'd stepped over a corpse like it was nothing, who held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "This is your world," she whispered. "This is what you meant, isn't it? Blood and death and violence." "Yes." His thumb wiped tears from her cheek. "This is my world, and I will drown it in blood before I let it take you from me." And God help her, she believed him completely. Worse, she was starting to need him too, desperately. Amara couldn't stop shaking. They'd made it to the tunnel, a cold, dark passage that stretched beneath the building. Seo-jun's men had cleared it, secured it, but she could still see Hyunwoo's face, still see the blood, still hear the gunshot echoing in her ears. Seo-jun hadn't let go of her hand since the basement. His grip was tight, almost painful, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he loosened it even slightly. "Safe house is 10 minutes away," one of his men said in English. Seo-jun nodded, his jaw tight. He'd wiped most of the blood from his face, but she could still see traces of it at his hairline, on his collar. Evidence of what he'd done, what he was capable of. The SUV was waiting at the tunnel exit. He ushered her inside, slid in beside her, and immediately his arm was around her shoulders, pulling her against his chest. "Breathe," he murmured. "Just breathe, Amara." She realized she'd been holding her breath. Her lungs burned as she gasped for air. "He was going to kill me." The words tumbled out. "He was going to kill our baby, and you just shot him." "I know." His hand stroked her hair, steady and grounding. "I know what I did. Does it bother you?" She pulled back to look at him directly. "Killing him? Does it bother you?" "No, honest, brutal. He threatened you, pointed a gun at our child. He deserved worse than a quick death, much worse." She should have been horrified, but all she felt was a strange, twisted relief that he'd been there, that he'd protected her. I think I'm going to be sick. He grabbed a bag just in time. She retched, her body finally catching up to the trauma, the shock. He held her hair back, murmured soft words in Korean that she didn't understand but felt anyway, comforting. When she finished, he handed her water, took care of her like she was precious, fragile. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't apologize ever. His thumb brushed her cheek. You almost died tonight. You're allowed to fall apart completely. The safe house was smaller than the penthouse, a modern apartment in Gangnam with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimal furniture. Seo-jun's men swept it twice before allowing them inside. We're secure, the head guard said. Perimeter is locked down tight. Keep 2 men on each entrance, Seo-jun ordered. No one gets in without my authorization. The men filed out and suddenly they were alone. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. You should shower, Seo-jun said quietly. There's a bedroom down the hall. Everything you need is there. She looked down. Her yellow dress was dirty, torn at the hem. There was blood on her hands, Hyunwoo's blood. Okay, she whispered, but her legs wouldn't move. Amara. He was in front of her, hands gentle on her shoulders. You're in shock. Let me help you. He guided her to the bedroom, turned on the shower, set out towels and clothes, one of his t-shirts, soft sweatpants. Then he started to leave. Wait. Her hand shot out, catching his wrist. Don't go, please. His eyes searched hers. You want me to stay? She nodded. Okay. He sat on the edge of the bed. I'm right here. The hot water helped. Washed away the blood, the fear, the trauma. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Hyunwoo falling. Saw Seo-jun's cold expression, lethal and protective. When she emerged, dressed in his clothes, hair dripping, he was exactly where she'd left him, waiting. Better? He asked. I don't know. She sat beside him. I keep seeing it, replaying. It'll fade. His hand found hers eventually. The images will fade. Does it fade for you? When you kill. Silence stretched. No, he finally said. But I've learned to live with it over the years. She looked at their joined hands. How many people have you killed? Do you really want to know that? Yes. He met her eyes. Enough that I stopped counting years ago. The honesty should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like trust, like intimacy. I should hate you, she whispered. You should. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Any sane person would run. But I don't. The admission felt like falling. I don't hate you. I don't even fear you anymore. You should fear me. His voice was raw. I'm a monster, Amara. A killer. No. She turned to face him fully. A monster would have let him shoot me. You didn't hesitate. You just, her voice cracked. You protected us without thinking. That doesn't make me good. Maybe not. She cupped his face. But it makes you mine. His breath caught. Say that again. You're mine. The words felt right true. Just like I'm yours. What neither of them knew was that Jiwon had been watching the attack unfold remotely. And when Hyunwoo failed, she decided to handle things personally. In 48 hours, she'd make her move. And this time, there would be no escape. He kissed her then, desperate and claiming and full of everything he couldn't say. She kissed him back, pouring 3 weeks of want and fear and impossible feelings into it. His hands slid under the t-shirt she wore, spanning her bare skin. Heat flooded her body. Want mixing with relief, mixing with the desperate need to feel alive. Amara, he breathed against her lips. We should stop. You're in shock. I need you. She pulled him closer. Please, I need to feel something other than fear. He searched her eyes, and whatever he saw there made his resolve crumble. He lifted her, carried her to the bed, laid her down like she was something precious, irreplaceable. Tell me if you want to stop, he whispered. Anytime, just tell me. She nodded, and then his mouth was on hers again, his hands gentle but possessive, and the world narrowed to just this, his weight above her, his heart thundering against hers, the way he whispered her name like a prayer. Later, she lay in his arms, her head on his chest, his hand protective over her stomach. The wedding, she said softly. Do you still want to? More than ever. His fingers threaded through her hair. I want you legally mine. I want the world to know you're untouchable. I don't feel untouchable. You're the strongest person I know. He tilted her chin up. You survived tonight. You're still here, still fighting. Because of you. No. His expression was fierce. Because of you. I just made sure you had the chance. She wanted to believe him. What happens now? She asked. With G1? His jaw tightened. Now I handle it permanently, completely. Meaning? Meaning I'm done playing defensive. His eyes went cold. She tried to kill you. That's a declaration of war. Fear spiked through her. Seo Jun, please. I won't lose you. His hand cupped her face. I can't lose you. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure she can never threaten you again. Even if it starts a war? Especially then. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. You're worth burning the whole world down for. The certainty in his voice made her feel cherished, protected. I'm not going anywhere, she promised. Good, he kissed her forehead. Because I'm never letting you go. They lay in silence, danger still lurking outside. Sleep, he murmured. I'll keep watch. You need sleep too. I'll sleep when you're safe, not before. She wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling her under. The adrenaline crash, the trauma, it all caught up at once. Her last thought before sleep was that she'd meant what she said. She wasn't going anywhere. Even if it killed her. Shouting woke her. Korean, rapid, angry, coming from the living room. Seo Jun was gone from beside her and panic spiked through her instantly. She grabbed his shirt, pulled it on, and padded to the doorway. Seo Jun stood in the living room, phone pressed to his ear, his expression murderous. His men surrounded him, all talking at once, voices overlapping. What's happening? She asked. He turned and the look on his face made her blood freeze. G1, he said. She's calling for a meeting tomorrow. Neutral ground. Why would she want to meet? She wants to negotiate, supposedly. His laugh was bitter. She says she'll leave you alone if I agree to her terms. Amara's stomach dropped. What terms? His jaw clenched. Marriage to her. A merger of our syndicates and families. He looked at her, anguish in his eyes. She wants me to choose, you or peace. The world tilted. What are you going to do? She whispered. He crossed the room, pulled her into his arms, held her tight. I'm going to that meeting, he said against her hair, and I'm going to end this once and for all. How? You can't just walk into a trap. He pulled back, and the cold calculation in his eyes was both terrifying and reassuring. By making her think I'm giving her exactly what she wants. His smile was razor-sharp. And then taking everything from her instead. Amara searched his face, understanding dawning. A trap. A trap, he confirmed. She thinks she has leverage. She thinks I'll sacrifice you to avoid war. His hand cupped her face. She's about to learn she's wrong. This is dangerous. Everything about us is dangerous. He kissed her forehead. But I'd rather die fighting for you than live without you. And despite the fear coursing through her veins, despite the absolute insanity of everything, Amara realized something. She trusted him completely. To protect her, to fight for her, to burn the world down if that's what it took. Then let's end this, she said. His eyes blazed with fierce pride. Together. Together. Tomorrow they'd face G1. Tomorrow the war would begin. But tonight they had each other, and that would have to be enough. The meeting was set for noon at a luxury hotel in Gangnam. Neutral territory, G1 had insisted. Public enough to discourage violence, private enough for negotiation. Or so she thought. Amara stood in front of the mirror in the safe house bedroom, adjusting the traditional Korean hanbok Seo Jun had brought her, deep navy silk with silver embroidery, the colors of his family. A statement, a claim of ownership. You don't have to come, Seo Jun said from the doorway. He was dressed in a black suit, his tattoos hidden except for the phoenixes that crept up his neck. He looked every inch the dangerous man he was. Yes, I do. She turned to face him. She wants to see me broken, scared, defeated. I'm going to show her I'm neither. Pride flickered across his features. He crossed the room, hands settling on her waist. You're magnificent, he murmured. Terrifying and magnificent. I learned from the best. She straightened his tie, her hands steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. Tell me the plan again. I go in first. Agree to her terms publicly in front of witnesses she's arranged. She thinks she's won. His jaw tightened. But what she doesn't know is that her father will be there. I've already shown him proof of what she's done. The murders, the attacks, the money she's been stealing from their organization. Will he believe you? He already does. He's been looking for a reason to remove her from power. She's become a liability, reckless. His thumb traced her cheekbone. When I walk away from our deal, he'll handle her internally. No war, no bloodshed on the streets. Except hers. Except hers. No apology in his voice. She tried to kill you. Tried to kill our baby. This is mercy compared to what I want to do to her. Amara searched his eyes, dark, lethal, but softening when they looked at her. And if something goes wrong, then you run. He pressed something into her hand, a phone. This has one number programmed. My head of security. You press the button, he gets you out immediately. No questions, no hesitation. I'm not leaving you behind. Yes, you are. His voice was steel. If this goes wrong, if Ji-won's father doesn't act, if she tries anything, you run. You protect our baby. You survive. His forehead pressed against hers. Promise me. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him they'd survive together or not at all. But the desperate fear in his eyes stopped her. I promise, she whispered. That's my girl. He kissed her soft, achingly tender. When this is over, we're getting married tomorrow. No more waiting. Tomorrow, she agreed. And then? Then we live. His hand found her stomach. We raise our baby. We build something good out of all this darkness. His smile was small but real. Maybe even be happy. Maybe even be happy, she echoed. What Amara didn't know was that Ji-won had no intention of negotiating. The meeting was a trap, one last attempt to eliminate her rival permanently. And in 10 minutes, Amara would have to make an impossible choice: trust Seo-jun's plan or save herself. The hotel was stunning, all marble and gold with crystal chandeliers that cast prismatic light across everything. Seo-jun's men flanked them as they entered, and Amara felt every eye in the lobby tracking their movement. Ji-won waited in a private dining room on the top floor. She sat at the head of a long table dressed in white, a mockery of a bride. Her father sat to her right, an older man with cold eyes and a harder expression. Seo-jun, Ji-won purred, standing. Then her gaze slid to Amara and pure hatred flashed across her face. I said this was a private meeting. She stays. Seo-jun's hand found the small of Amara's back. She's part of this. She's the problem. Ji-won's smile was razor-sharp. But I suppose it's fitting. She should see what she's losing. Enough. Ji-won's father spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with authority. Sit. Both of you. Let's discuss terms. They sat, Seo-jun and Amara on one side, Ji-won and her father on the other. The table felt like a battlefield. The terms are simple, Ji-won said. Marriage between Seo-jun and myself. A merger of our organizations, and the foreign woman, she said it like a curse, disappears permanently. Disappears? Amara repeated, her voice steady despite her racing heart. You mean dies? I mean becomes irrelevant. Ji-won's smile widened. We'll send you back to America. Give you money. You can raise the bastard child somewhere far from here, forgotten. No. Seo-jun's voice was ice. That's not happening. Then we have nothing to discuss. Ji-won leaned back. I was hoping you'd be reasonable, Appa. For the sake of peace. For the sake of what exactly? Her father's voice cut through. Power you've abused? Money you've stolen? Lives you've taken without permission or authorization? Ji-won's expression flickered just for a second. Fear. Abioji, what are you talking about? I know everything. He pulled out a folder, the same one Seo-jun had compiled. The assassinations, the embezzlement, the unauthorized attacks on allied organizations. He slammed it on the table. You've dishonored our family, endangered everything we've built. Those are lies. They're facts. Seo-jun's voice was calm, deadly. Financial records, security footage, testimony from your own people who grew tired of your recklessness. He looked at her father. I gave you the evidence 2 days ago as promised. Understanding crashed through Amara. This was the plan. This was always the plan. Jiwon's face went white, then red with rage. You! She lunged across the table, but her father's hand caught her wrist violently. Enough, he said. You're done. Effective immediately, you're removed from all organization operations. You'll return home. You'll stay there. And you'll pray I decide exile is punishment enough. You can't do this. Jiwon's voice cracked. You can't. I'm your daughter. You were my daughter. His expression was stone. Now you're just a liability I'm containing. Security appeared, his men, not hers. They flanked Jiwon, waited. She looked at Seojun, and the hatred in her eyes was a living thing. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Seojun stood, pulling Amara up with him. Touch her again, even think about touching her, and your father won't be able to protect you from me. I don't need protection from you. But her voice shook. I need to accept you lost. Amara spoke for the first time since sitting down, her voice stronger than she felt. You tried to take everything from me. My life, my baby, my future. And you failed completely. She stepped closer, and Jiwon actually flinched. He chose me, not because he had to, because he wanted to, and no amount of threats or violence or manipulation will ever change that. Jiwon's perfect mask cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks, rage and humiliation and loss. Take her, her father said quietly. The men escorted her out and her sobs echoed down the hallway, broken and defeated. When the door closed, Jiwon's father looked at Seojun. The alliance between our families is over. I understand completely. But he glanced at Amara, something almost like respect in his eyes. I have no quarrel with you personally. What my daughter did was her dishonor, not yours. You defended what was yours. I can respect that. Thank you. Raise your child well. He stood, bowed slightly. And congratulations on your marriage. Then he was gone, and they were alone. Silence. Is it over? Amara whispered. Is it really over? Seojun pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. It's over. She can't touch you. No one can touch you anymore. She felt tears coming, relief, exhaustion, joy, everything at once. We're safe. We're safe, he confirmed. We're free. She pulled back to look at him, and the emotion in his eyes nearly destroyed her. Say it, she whispered. Please, I need to hear you say it. He cupped her face, thumbs brushing away her tears. I love you. I've loved you since the moment you crashed into me. I'll love you until the day I die. You and our baby. You're my whole world. I love you too. The words felt like freedom, like coming home. So much it terrifies me. Good. His smile was devastating. Because I'm never letting you go. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promises. And Amara kissed him back, pouring everything she felt into it, all the fear and hope and impossible love. When they finally pulled apart, he was smiling, a real genuine smile that transformed his entire face. Tomorrow, he said. We get married tomorrow. Tomorrow, she agreed. And then? Then we start our life together. His hand found her stomach. The three of us. The three of us, she echoed. 6 months later, Amara stood in the nursery, cradling their son, Kofi. They'd named him, He Will Be Loved in a Can. It felt fitting, perfect. Seojun appeared in the doorway, still dressed in his suit from work. But when he saw them, his entire expression softened. How is he? He asked quietly. Perfect. She looked down at their sleeping baby, his father's dark hair, her brown skin, a beautiful blend of both their worlds. Absolutely perfect. Seojun crossed the room, wrapped his arms around both of them, his family, his whole world. I never thought I could have this, he murmured. Peace, love, a family. Neither did I. Amara leaned back against his chest. But here we are. Here we are, he kissed the top of her head. My wife, my son, my life, my everything. Outside, Seoul glittered. The city that had once been foreign and terrifying now felt like home. The penthouse they'd moved back into felt safe. The future they'd once doubted now stretched before them, full of possibility. They'd survived the darkness. And on the other side, they'd found each other, found love, found home. And that was worth everything. If Amara and Seojun's journey from strangers to soulmates had you holding your breath, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it the rooftop date, the basement showdown, that final I love you confession? And subscribe because their story might be over, but I have so many more dangerous romances waiting for you.